All right, good afternoon. I'm here today with Aswin Gunasekar, CEO of Zeto. Aswin, welcome.
Thank you, Scott. Nice to be here with you.
So good to have you here today. You were a presenter at our meeting earlier in the year. You're one of our really exciting presenters at the meeting we'll be having in March. For those of the folks checking in today that don't know, what is Zeto? Who is Zeto, and how did you find yourself there? Give us a little background.
Yeah, so Zeto, we are transforming EEG brain monitoring for healthcare. So EEG is just like EKG, but for the brain. So it's electrical activity that's emanating from the brain. And it is an important diagnosis procedure for various neurological conditions, as you think, from epilepsy, seizures, sleep disorders, to autism, and even has a lot of monitoring value for stroke and so on. So it is a continuous time scan of the brain, as opposed to an MRI or a CT, which is an image snapshot. So what we are doing is basically have brought in a massive process improvement for being able to access EEG in any healthcare facility without needing a trained technician to glue down the wires. And on the back end, we also offer a very sophisticated platform completely on the cloud. So when the EEGs are recorded, and then an EEG technician can continuously monitor it by joining live, and also a neurologist that's sitting remote can read the EEGs and submit the report. We have various tools like artifact reduction to automated seizure detection that we partner with excellent EEG analysis companies in the space, and also finally an excellent report writer. So overall, what we're providing is a turnkey solution from EEG signal acquisition to treatment in combination with partners. So it's a full solution for EEG brain monitoring that we provide, and we currently in the rapid EEG space.
Really, really exciting. And, I did a little research prior to our interview, and I discovered that you and I have something interesting in common. So I studied computer science. You're a computer engineer. We both worked at a management consulting firm. You worked at PricewaterhouseCoopers. I'm going to date myself here, but I was with them when they were Coopers and Lybrand. So you know that I was there many, many years ago. But now we both find ourselves in healthcare. How did your journey happen? How did you end up where you're at? I'm curious.
Yeah, I was in semiconductor chip design for a long time at AMD. It was a lot of depth, and I was getting deeper and deeper. It was enjoyable, but I was looking for fresh breath, for fresh air. So I completed my MBA while I was working at AMD in the University of Texas at Austin. And during the final semesters is when new venture class came up, and I was taught by a really excellent professor. So that culminated in a business plan competition in the business school. So I proposed something which was probably at that level, very methodical, and probably for healthcare, where I wanted to dig in and add some value. And I was inspired by my cousin, who grew up with a severe form of epilepsy. And at that point, I didn't know how epilepsy was diagnosed. I just started looking into it, and it was electrical activity, and it was people gluing down wires. So instantly, I knew that I could do better. Science was not the limiting factor. But of course, business school and my professor taught me that go study the opportunity and don't build it and expect they will come. So that's what set the motion. And from then on, we won that competition. I moved to PwC, to the Bay Area, but I knew that I wanted to start the company. So it was all worked
That's
out.
such a great story. And that's one of the things I love about our industry is often the things we end up working on are the things that touched somebody close to us, and then we get to solve a problem and be engaged in high tech, but do something good along the way. So that's outstanding. And I will note, and I'll encourage people to take a look at the full interview and presentation. You have a very, very strong team on board as well. I want to talk a little bit about the market. Talk about the unmet need. Let's talk about reimbursement. How big is the opportunity? How's the reimbursement? Let's talk about market dynamics.
If you look at the market, it's if you see what a screening EEG market is, and I'll just talk first about the US because we can put our hands around it. The what we call a routine or an office EEG is the screening EEG that is done in hospitals or physician offices as a screening method, and it's typically under 1 hour. And they want to know when you come in reporting a dizziness or a seizure, they'd like to put it for 20 to 40 minutes or 1 hour. In that market is at least 5 to 6 million procedures done in the US annually today. And these are reimbursed at a very high rate, $300+ global fee. Technical is a big chunk, and then a professional component. So we're talking about close to $700-800 million+ just in this office EEG space. And then you go on to continuous EEG, where people are monitored longer term, either in a hospital setting or in a home setting. Those are called ambulatory EEGs. Mm-hmm. That's a much larger market. And then comes the epilepsy monitoring units, which are the ones that are being monitored for 5 to 7 days, getting ready for a surgery. They're trying to lateralize the abnormality. So the longer term EEG market, which is admitted in the hospital or the ambulatory market, is another 1 billion plus easily in terms of reimbursements. And they also go through DRG reimbursements. And then finally, the EMU, the epilepsy monitoring units, are much higher. I'm not even touching the sleep disorder, which is a completely separate track. I mean, I think in a base level, if you talk about EEG brain monitoring, it's pretty massive across neurological conditions. For example, now EEG is starting to take more and more effect or precedence into looking at clinical depression. Just based on the signature of the brain waves, you can very categorically say whether the patient is clinically depressed or not. So the awareness is growing. And as you bring a product that makes EEG acquisition and accessibility and interpretation easier, the market widens. Right?
That's great. That's great. Talk about, I don't think there's been much innovation in this space for some time. In fact, I reflect on a statement you made at our recent meeting. You talked about really no substantial innovation over the last several years, if not dozens of years. How does your product differentiate? What are the breakthrough changes in your differentiations in your technology?
Absolutely. So the conventional EEG, let's take the front end, right? Like the conventional EEG, you bring in a big card, you order an EEG, you bring in a big card. There's a computer there is a CPU setup, and then there is an EEG amplifier with a lot of wires coming out. And a trained EEG technician that is certified in this, typically they go to school for about a year, and they should have done X number of EEGs to be a certified EEG technician. That's the base level. And then they have different certifications for intraoperative monitoring, long-term monitoring, and so on. So what they're doing is they're prepping the skin, measuring and marking electrode locations and gluing down the electrodes because they need to be at precise locations. So a lot of work is going in, and you need that operator to get an EEG done. What we do is, make that process a lot better, even for the trained operator. So here you have sensors that are flexible, and I can actually show you one of the sensors. So here it's a soft sensor. It's got a custom gel coating, and then we have sophisticated, because we're not doing skin prep, we have to have sophisticated noise engineering, like a Bose noise canceling headphone, because the signal is weak. We need to protect the signal with high fidelity and be able to digitize it and then transmit it to the cloud. So that's the front end. And on the back end, when everything is live with video, it provides a great advantage because now you're not limited to the neurologist being on site. So now you're able to open up this important diagnosis test to any healthcare facility.
Very cool. It's a cool looking product as well. Let's talk about the patient adoption. I think you had talked about, even parents and children being, the kids being more, I don't want to say eager, but interested in accepting the technology. Let's talk about the patient reaction to the technology.
Yeah, so we always score very high with patient satisfaction because number one, the current EEG methods, especially for longer term monitoring, skin breakdown is a big problem. It's a massive problem because collodion, or it's kind of almost super glue, it's medical super glue, it does break skin down when it's been on the skin for more than a few hours. So, and then it's also very hard to wash it off. Not all of them are water soluble. Only new electrode paste are becoming water soluble, but that's not the norm at all. So given that, it's not a great experience for a patient. And just setup time alone takes about 45, 50 minutes. Even for an experienced technician, so it takes about 30, 35 minutes. So when you add all this up, it's not a great experience. And after that, you have to clean up the patient. So in that regard, patients absolutely love, putting a helmet on and, taking it off and then just walking out. So the patient satisfaction is wonderful, actually, for us.
That's great. I'd like to go to a clip here, if you don't mind, from our recent meeting where you talk about the Apple-like platform. So let's go to that clip for a second.
To enable such a future, you need to build it with a full stack play from hardware to software. Here, everything that's in green is already out commercial from us, and it's delivering value to the customers. We start with the hardware, the EEG headset. The current product is out there. Our next product, the continuous EEG wearable, which will launch next year, will be a game-changing product for long-term EEG. Our Zeto Cloud can handle up to 10,000 simultaneous uploads and downloads today. And our streaming API is already enabling about a dozen third-party apps. And in machine learning and AI, we already have the most advanced report writer out there. And we will be delivering seizure detection in a few months. And we hope to have computers reading EEGs by 2024.
Okay, Aswin. So I found this area of your business quite fascinating. Let's talk about the Apple-like platform and what it means for the future and sort of growth for the company. What could be next?
Absolutely. Yes, as we were developing the product, in the earlier days, we were thinking, okay, what kind of a step function do we want to make the first gen product? And we were literally considering whether we want to make a local version of it or a cloud-based version of it based on Wi-Fi. So that was the initial thought process. By an Apple-like platform, what we mean is more about, hey, how can we bring a full ecosystem in play? So we were not just thinking hardware. We were actually thinking about hardware, and on top of that, a cloud-based software that can do thousands of simultaneous uploads and downloads across the world, across the United States. And then on top of that, apps that we can open up our infrastructure to other smart neuroscientists, where they can actually build great applications for different conditions, such as stroke, post-stroke rehab, autism, Alzheimer's detection, whatever, right? So that opens up another window. And then finally, being able to build applications of our own and integrating other excellent EEG service providers applications for the existing markets. So that is how we planned this ecosystem, and that is how we built it from scratch. It's hard to kind of change it later in the game if you built it on a different kind of framework. So that is what I meant by an Apple-like ecosystem, and it has paid really good dividends for us.
That's great. And this also reminds me of, I think another element to what you're working on is that it's not just about the capturing of the data, but it's the interpretation of the data. In fact, you referenced that in your presentation. And it seems like because of your model, a potential exit down the road may open up beyond just the traditional healthcare companies. Is there any consideration that, I don't know, an IT giant or a tech player may be interested in partnering up with Zeto at some point?
Absolutely. So for us, we're collecting a lot of brainwave data, and it's time-based data, and it's a lot of information that is coming in tagged with excellent events, by healthcare facilities, right? So for the ones that give us access to anonymizing them and extracting value and giving that value back to our customers, there is tremendous value with respect to machine learning and AI. And that's where tech companies play a role. So what they're looking at is, hey, can I apply my TensorFlow algorithms and see if I can extract a lot of value from a database that is across a large patient set and has information across various indications, right? So when you see that, tech companies see a major value to just acquiring such a company and building on top of it. We're talking about companies like IBM or Verily or Qualcomm. They're all playing and they're all very, very excited about entering healthcare. And in what form will depend. We will also need to see and evolve how much of a database we have and what kind of value we can provide. But that's kind of the tech play. It is kind of a distant shot, but there is serious potential there.
Yeah, that's great. Let's talk about your current capital situation. Are you raising capital? Is an opportunity open for folks to jump in with you? Talk maybe a little bit about current capital situation and plans for 2023.
Yes, we are in the process of raising our next round. It's a Series B, but mainly to accelerate commercialization. We have excellent commercial traction with a lot of our customer segments, ranging from hospitals to physician offices to pharma clinical trials. So right now we want to build out. We have our product market fit. We have our messaging. We have our sales story. We want to actually take it to the next level to accelerate our sales and get to profitability with the next round. We see a clear path to profitability and cash flow positive state with this next round. And yes, we are raising money to do just that, and always open to talking to investors, or someone like me is always open to talking to investors.
That's great. Let's talk about use of proceeds. Generally, Aswin, where will those buckets go in terms of dispersing the capital?
Gotcha. Yeah, that's a great question, Scott. For us, with respect to how we're going to use the capital, we are primarily the main one is going to be towards commercialization.
Yeah.
And that is a good percentage, and we have excellent unit level metrics that we want to scale up from a salesperson productivity standpoint. We have achieved those good numbers, so we want to scale that up. The second piece is R&D. We have two really good next generation products that we're working on, and we would be getting those ready to market. So a lot of that, which will also start up another market access curve and improve our enterprise value by a tremendous amount. So that's the other piece that we're building. And then also finally to build out our executive team in having a top level leadership, proven top level leadership from other companies that we can quickly get in and scale the company up. So that's pretty much the three buckets.
You have an exciting future. Indeed, Zeto is the solution, the EEG solution of the future. And I want to thank you for your time. I love what you're doing with your company. You have a tremendous team. Huge support from LSI, and we look forward to seeing what 2023 and beyond brings for you. Thank you very much.
Thank you. I'm a big fan of LSI. Enjoy your conferences. One of the best for medical technology. Absolutely. So looking forward to being there in California, Southern California, again with you in 2023. Thank you,
Aswin.
Appreciate
Thank
it.
you.
Bye-bye.